Good morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always, told out of voice of radio. So today, we need to take a little bit of a look at the Darkness Ablaze Theme Decks. You see, the set list is out there now. The set list has gone and been revealed, so we know what's in the theme decks, and we can have a good old gander. Now, we do need to give a massive shout out at this stage to the lovely Andrew Mahone. He of Mahone's Tricky Gym over on Facebook. Quite a few people know who he is. Lovely dude. Went and tweeted these out yesterday, shared the images of them, so we do know the deck lists, and they come from him. So, let's have a bit of love, shall we? Now, they do feature Galarian Sirfetch'd and Galarian Darmanitan. Now, that's not news. We knew this was a thing because we'd seen this before. We'd seen the front of the boxes. What is weird and different here is that they're reprints. Now, when we saw these theme decks first time round, I told you that it was very strange that we hadn't seen these cards. And when I said we hadn't seen these cards, I meant we hadn't seen them including in Japan. Well, we still haven't seen these cards in Japan. The artwork featured hasn't been seen in Japan. However, we have now had confirmation that these are alternate art reprints of the Galarian Sirfetch'd and the Galarian Darmanitan that came around in Rebel Clash. And we're going to start off with Sirfetch'd here because I love me some Sirfetch'd. So why would we not? Now, I actually do really like this card. This one's super interesting. Seen a bit of play and love over in Japan. Mostly for the second attack, Meteor Assault, 180 damage for free energy, but you cannot use it again until you leave the active. So it's not just you can't use it next turn, you literally cannot use it again until you actually leave the active spot. But there's so many switching options we've got at the moment that it's really not a huge deal, so I wouldn't worry your pretty little heads about it. Now you get yourself 3 Diglett and 2 Dugtrio, and the Dugtrio that you do get here are the ones which are coming in Rebel Clash itself. Now I quite like this Dugtrio. It's the one whereby you get to flip a coin after doing 30 damage, and if you flip heads, you basically get immunity next turn. You prevent all effective attacks, including damage done to you next turn. So that one's kind of fun. We do get a Hippowdon line here. 3 Hippotas, 2 Hippowdon. And again, we are talking the one which is coming in Rebel Clash. Best thing about this one, free energy, flip 3 coins, 80 damage for each heads. It's not a powerhouse card, but if you can flip a lot of heads, it could be kind of fun. Now, we are getting a couple copies of the Stonejourner. Now, we've already had this Stonejourner. This is the one that came around in Rebel Clash. It's not seen a huge amount of play, if I'm honest with you. It's not proven to be a powerhouse of the format, I think it's fair to say. But 4 energy, 120 damage. Or if you've got a 5th energy attached there, then you do 180 damage. It's quite an expensive card in terms of actually paying the attack cost, but it's another one of those where if you get it set up and rolling, it ain't too bad. Certainly better in a theme deck than in a standard tournament legal deck. Now, there are a couple copies of the Sudowoodo here that came around in Sword and Shield, and I really like this one. This is a good setup Pokemon. 1 colorless energy, draw 2 cards, or 1 colorless energy, and you do 10 damage for each damage counter on it. So essentially you sit there drawing cards, and if your opponent hits you but doesn't KO you, then you get to, well, hit them back just as hard as they hit you. Certainly nice for setting up, certainly nice in a theme deck. And then we got 2 copies of Persimmon, and again we are talking to Persimmon here, which is coming along in Rebel Clash. Now, this is another setup Pokemon. Going to use it to get yourself rolling in the early game. 1 colorless energy, search your deck for up to 2 basic Pokemon and put them onto the bench. This could see play in standard, but this does seem like the kind of Pokemon that you would put in here just to get yourself set up in a theme deck format. Also, free energy, 70 damage, not affected by resistance. So the Pokemon line here is alright. I like the Farfetch'd, that's very cool. And then ones like the Dugtrio and the Sudowoodo are certainly interesting. Going into the trainer line here, we got 2 copies of Beedee. That's the one that lets you attach an extra energy to one of your bench Pokemon, which is very, very nice, helps you get rolling. 2 copies of that new card, Birdkeeper. Birdkeeper is just a switch that then also lets you draw 3 cards. It's finding its way into pretty much every Japanese deck at the moment. It's only really generally a 1 or 2 of, but it's finding its way into every Japanese deck. You're gonna need some Birdkeeper. It's nice to have them in there. 2 copies of Great Ball, and they are great for searching out your Pokemon. They see a lot of play. They go in basically every deck at the moment, so that's pretty good. 4 copies of Hop. Hop is very much a theme deck card. It lets you draw 3. And I've just shown you Birdkeeper that lets you switch and draw 3. Drawing 3 is a very standard, vanilla, kind of boring card, but it's the kind of one you get in theme deck. It's good when you don't have any other options. Couple copies of Pokemon Catcher. Flip a coin. If heads, you get to switch your opponent's active with one of their bench of your choosing. This is a good card that sees a bunch of play. 2 copies of Professor's Research. Discard your hand, draw 7 cards. It is an absolute staple in basically every deck at the moment. So pretty gosh darn nice that we get them here. If you don't have them, you will need them. 2 copies of Sonya. Now, Sonya doesn't see a huge amount of play. Lets you search for 2 basic Pokemon or 2 basic energy and put them in your hand. It's a tech card that comes around here or there. It does see play, but not in huge numbers. And then we see 2 copies of Switch. Switch is your active with your basic. Again, Switch has been a staple. I mean, literally since the base set came out. Still sees a huge amount of play. And then 2 copies of Turbo Patch. Now, Turbo Patch is a new card, which is coming around in Darkness Ablaze, and it is a great card that's going to see a huge amount of play. What you do is you flip a coin, and if heads, you attach a basic energy from your discard to a basic non-GX Pokemon that you've got in play. It's great. It is going to bust decks wide open. It is going to make decks good that weren't good before. And it is going to make decks that were good better. Make no mistake about it, Turbo Patch is a great card. And chucking them in theme decks is a very, very nice thing indeed. Now moving over into the Galarian Darmanitan theme deck, we've got ourselves an alternate art Galarian Darmanitan. Now this is also one that came around in Rebel Clash. It's fine as far as it goes. It's all right. Again, it's been out for a little while and not seen a huge amount of play. But what we have here is free energy, 80 damage plus 10 to each of your opponent's bench Pokemon. Or 4 energy, 170, and it can't use the same attack next turn. It's a nice little card. It's a decent single energy attacker, but it's not seen much play or love. Now, I do need to actually correct myself here. There are 3 Galarian Darmanitan. I said that. I meant it, I was right. But there's actually 2 of the Water Galarian Darmanitan and 1 of the Fire Galarian Darmanitan. Now this is new in Darkness Ablaze. It's weird 'cause on the back of the theme that they just list 3 Galarian Darmanitan. Again, shout out to Andrew Mahone for showing us the content, showing us what's in there. But what we see here is 1 energy, 40 damage. Or 3 energy, 110, you may discard all the water energy and do 170. This, of course, being a very cool card, because you can play a water deck, playing only water energy, and yet you still get to use a Fire Galarian Darmanitan. That's really kind of cool. Outside of that, we got a couple copies of the Pelipper, and obviously Wingull, that we saw back in Rebel Clash. 2 energy, 50 damage, 3 energy, 110, move an energy from it to one of your bench. Not a phenomenal card if we're being a little bit honest. A couple copies of the new Beartic. Now this is another one which is coming around in Rebel Clash as a brand new card that we've never seen before. 40 damage for 2 energy or 3 energy, 150 and 50 to itself. Certainly the 3 energy, 150 and 50 to itself is very nice in a theme deck format. But it's another one of those cards, if you're playing theme deck, and I would encourage playing theme decks, right? Theme deck tournaments are very fun. But if you're not playing theme decks, I'm not sure this is going to be good enough, unfortunately. Now, what I really like here is that we're getting 2 copies of Wishy Washy. Now, the Wishy Washy here has got an attack that I absolutely adore. For 1 colourless energy, you shuffle your hand into your deck and draw 8 cards. Now, in terms of a Pokemon giving you a shuffle draw attack, refreshing your hand, this is far and away the best option we've got. But Wishy Washy's only got 30 HP. So it's a really, really good attack on a Pokemon that's only got 30 HP. So the question really just becomes, are you willing to give up a prize? If you are, it's a great attack. We got a couple copies of the new Suicune that's coming around in Darkness Ablaze. 1 energy, 20 damage, or free energy, 130, and you return 2 energy from it to your hand. In a Frostmoth deck where you can just reattach those energy very easily, this could end up being a really good single prize attacker. Don't be surprised if this starts popping up in a whole bunch of Frostmoth decks. And then finally we see 2 copies of the new Kangaskhan. Again, the Kangaskhan which is coming around in Darkness Ablaze. And free energy 100 is fine, but 2 energy, 30 damage. If any of your Pokemon were knocked out by damage from an opponent's attack last turn, the attack does 120. I put this on my list of best Pokemon for pre-releases, and I meant it incidentally. This is a very, very cool pre-release card. Is it great in Standard? I am slightly worried it might not be quite good enough. Sorry. Now, in terms of the trainer cards here, it is extremely similar. Still got 2 copies of Beedee, still got 2 copies of Birdkeeper, still got 2 copies of Great Ball, still got 4 copies of Hop, still got 2 copies of Professor's Research, still got 2 copies of Sonia, still got 2 Switch, and still got 2 Turbo Patch. And the ones that weren't particularly good still aren't, and the ones like Turbo Patch and Professor's Research that we're really glad we're getting, we're still really glad we're getting. There is 1, or 2 depending how you look at it, changes which are coming around because of this particular theme deck, and that is that we've dropped the 2 copies of Pokemon Catcher, and we've added in 2 copies of Capacious Bucket. That is the item card that lets you search your deck for 2 water energy and put them into your hand. Cool. I mean, certainly if you're playing a water deck, that seems like the kind of thing that could be fun. These are not quite the powerhouse theme decks that we've seen recently, but once again, they are filled with staples like Professor's Research and Great Ball and Turbo Patch, which an awful lot of decks are going to need. They've got some decent Pokemon, and they've got some good setup Pokemon. So if you want to go and get yourself some theme decks, these could fit the bill very, very nicely indeed. But now, ladies and gentlemen, I want to know from you guys. I want to know what you think about these. I want to know how excited you are about them. So let me know in the comment section. Go nuts. Be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWassy, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all that good stuff, head on over to patreon.com/PTCGRadio, where you can do exactly that. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.